Hey everybody, it's lunch with Mal and with Stormfly because she's clearly the most important creature in the room right now. She's she normally is like not a cat that's really on my lap. She usually lives on Jill's desk because Jill like made a nest for her out of yarn. But for the last few days, Stormfly has decided that she wants to live on my lap while I'm trying to work because she's a cat and that's how cats do. So how is everyone today? How's spring shaping up for everyone? I'm just gonna deal with this furball here, she's a kneader too, and she's not like a gentle kneader. She's I'm going to knead you with my claws kind of cat. And you don't smell super good right now. What's going on? What's up with the smell? Why are your paws so cold? Oh my god. Hey Victoria and Linda. You gotta go. You gotta go. No, nope, nope. She's like ready to jump right back up. No, no jumps. I need to get her like a little stool with a cat bed on it or something. I'm not meeting with victory here. Uh, it's cute when they're not like doing it into your body. They're not like driving cat-like pin cushions into your flesh kind of situation. That's what always seems to happen to me. As long as she doesn't, I'm going to unplug my keyboard so that she doesn't do anything dangerous. I'm worried about her like sitting on my keyboard and ending the stream. She's currently investigating the microphone stand. Oh my goodness. You can't see her, but she's still here. There's a tail. So how are folks doing today? What's up with everybody? Anybody have anything exciting going on? I gotta turn the thing on where it shows comments on the screen. There we go. Wish I could make it bigger. So I'm kind of annoyed that I can't do that. Um, I'm having a pretty fabulous week. I put my latest book up for pre-order. So that's a thing that happened. I have not published a solo title since 2020. This second book. No, you cannot rub your head on that. You're like gonna unplug the microphone. We'll see how long that eviction lasts for. Nope. I'm putting things here right on the edge so you can't jump up, Stormfly. She's she's very put out looking. I put a bunch of things right on the edge. But yeah, I've the last book that I solo launched was the first book in the series I'm working on. I'm back. Sorry about that. It said my browser lost connection to my microphone. I suspect because a furry creature nuzzled against where the microphone plugs in and broke it free. I'm sorry, Stormfly. You're evicted. No more being on the desk during live streams. But yeah, so I was saying, I'm not sure how much of it came through, that I can't believe I can't remember what day it was now, but I put up a book for pre-order, and I have not done that in eons. So it felt pretty good to actually get do that and get a book put up. Does it say when I put it up? It does not say when I put it up. Well, I can't believe I can't remember already. Just this week has just been like weird and flown by. But it's just been a couple of days for sure. And it's not bad. I got 54 pre-orders. There we are. Start date June 2nd. So it was Monday. I did it. So 54 pre-orders since Monday, which is not bad considering I haven't had any sort of release in 4 years. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I got past my burnout and I managed to conquer my white whale of a book that's been fighting me forever. So I got some edits to do on it. I have to find an editor. I've put it for September 25th, but if I can get an editor get it edited by then. I've submitted or I'm submitting some samples to a couple different editors. Um, then yeah, it could be even sooner, and then I can sally forth. So that's been pretty cool. My great ad experiment is going exceptionally well. For those of you who were here last week, you heard this, of course, but I started a test on the 26th where I fired up 14 ads for one of my books. It's for a book that came out November 1st, 2016. So it's about 8.5 years old now. And fired up 14 ads for it and working to see which ones did well. 6 of them were duds. It didn't do much of anything. Bit more than I would normally have, but I tried sort of an out of the box experiment with content, sort of talking about how the book was not there was no AI involved in writing this book, just to see if there's an audience out there who would respond to that. All of those ads flopped. People did not care about that. They were down with the ads about the story or about the characters, which sort of cements what I've always said, that it's story and character that matters when you're selling your books. Um, and 3 of the ads are doing gangbusters, so it's I've already started scaling them, so that's also really good too. Sold the book from a Facebook ad. Lots of clicks, but no sales. How many clicks is it taking you to get a sale right now, Linda? Are you in KU as well? If you're in KU, it's usually 100 to 120 clicks to sell a book. If you're not in KU, then you want to be getting better than 50. So fewer than 50 clicks sell a book. Ideally, fewer than 30. Oh, okay. Well, 66 clicks to sell a book is not bad at all. If it's a new ad, okay, you're wide. All right. If it's a new ad, starting at 66 is good. Obviously, you want to hone and get it better than that, but it's not a terrible start. CM says I put up a pre-order last week in a new genre. It's almost the same number of pre-orders as my other 4 books did over their multi-month pre-orders, making me question my previous decisions and if I should pivot genres. Do you mind disclosing what the previous and new genres are? I'm curious. Hey, Elaine, how are you doing? Man, I feel like you asked a question on a post of mine, Elaine, and I meant to get back to it and respond, but I never did. Now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah, getting a pre-order up feels pretty good, and it's already ranked 45,000 in the store, which is nice as well. Which makes sense. 54 sales over roughly 3 days would amount to about a rank of 45,000. So that's been good. And then the ads that I've been running are getting the series I'm advertising up toward 10,000 pages read a day already. So that's getting to be a pretty nice jump as well. I think it's 10,000. It's starting to climb a lot. It climbed a bunch again yesterday. And people are, from what I can tell, people are only really starting to hit book 3 in the series just by looking at like the reads and the revenue through the series. So it's a 16 book series. So there's a long way to go. Gothic paranormal romance, new fairy tale fantasy. What's the heat level on the Gothic paranormal romance, and is it MF? I find that MF Gothic paranormal romance doesn't do super well. It needs to be the ones that I've encountered that do well are either all polyamory or queer. Seem to do really well in that sort of thing, but like MF doesn't seems to be a harder sell in Gothic paranormal romance. But I mean, fairy tale fantasy is hot, so not that spicy, and it's MF. Yeah, I think that's probably a big part of it. There's people who read that stuff, they want heat and they want weird shit. Oh, you let your mom read it? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's I'm just kidding. I think my mom would be mortified if she read my books. Actually, I think she did. I think this is funny. My parents never read any of my books until after I got my New York Times tag. And then suddenly they wanted to read my books. I'm like, oh, we went so long without you reading my books. Why do we have to do this now? But yeah, they did. And my mom didn't really have any comments after she read it. I don't speak to my mom anymore, so maybe she did have comments and she just didn't tell me. Although this was 2 years before my mother and I stopped speaking. So yeah, and she never really said much. My father read 3 or 4 of my books, maybe a few more. And one of my brothers has actually read quite a number of my books. My books are kind of weird too. Are you hopping from live to live, Monique? How are things? I'm sorry about the outcome of your election in Poland, by the way. I hope things don't get out of hand over there. Um, good luck. Although we narrowly, not to talk politics too much, but why not? We narrowly avoided, well, maybe not narrowly, we avoided calamity in Canada because we have a minority government, and one of the parties threatened to make a vote yesterday, a confidence vote. And if the minority government loses a vote of confidence, then the government is dissolved and there's an election. And we just had an election 30 days ago. So no one really wants that right now. The people, that is, the people do not want another election. Um, so luckily that did not happen, which is good. I think mainly because everybody who votes for that party said, "Dear Lord, don't do this. This is insane. Don't have a vote of don't make this a vote of confidence, and then try to have the government dissolved." Because right now the country does not need to go through another federal election. We're all set. Good idea, Monique. That's a good call. For those of you who don't know, the election in Poland went toward a right wing populist sort of situation, um, which compared to how everything else has been going in Europe was kind of surprising. But anyway, all of that aside, yeah. So if anyone has any questions, by the way, this is a great time to let me know if you have to lay it on me, and I can kind of queue them up for the rest of the live. Um, for me, I'm going to chat a little bit more about my great ad experiment, running the giant swath of ads. Maybe I'll actually show a little bit too. And then also I'm probably going to chat a bit more about my release and my plans for my release, how to like bring myself back after 4 years of not publishing. But also, like, it's kind of a neat thing too, when you have as many books out as I do, you can go 4 years without publishing and still be making a living wage. I think you're right, Linda. I think if the NDP did that, they would have no one would have voted for them. They would have been done. It probably would have hurt their provincial stuff a lot too. What was the what about, Monique? About that not having published in 4 years? I was chatting. I mentioned that just before you came on, but I'm going to share my screen here and show some things. Maps, no, not maps. That's not what I want to show. Amazon. Galactic Front. Yes, large back catalog is wonderful. When I was doing it, I knew that it wasn't a thing I could do forever, but I was like, I will make hay while the sun's up, kind of thing. Got Lucy's score living on my feed down there. She's hard to stop. Okay, Lucy, we get it. Stop spinning around. I don't know why, but like I don't read romance or buy romance, but she's just there. No worries, Elaine. I don't know if you heard my question about your question, Elaine, but I remember you posted somewhere, I think maybe on one of my Facebook posts, a question. I remember meaning to answer it, but I didn't. So if you remember what that was and you're still curious, let me know. But yeah, this is the book I put up. Book 2 of 2 in my Ascension War series. It's a $6.99 book, so 54 pre-orders at $6.99 seems pretty good to me. And up at 45,000 in the store. I'm not running any ads for this series right now. I'm actually not sure how well this series would function. It's not book one. It's not like new reader material. This is for people who've read like everything I've ever written. It's kind of who this series is for. So I don't know that I'm going to do a bunch of ads for it, but I'm running a discounted book 1 from $6.99 to $2.99. And I mentioned in my newsletter, I'm going to have it at 299 until book two comes out. I don't know what the rank is on this. 51,000. I think it was like 200,000 before I did this. So huzzah! It's actually getting some action there, which is nice. Um, I've actually never ever promoted this book because I don't normally do heavy promotion on book one in a new series, and I did this book and then hit like burnout town shortly after doing this book. Also, I got to fix the blurb. When I changed the price, Amazon took out all the paragraph returns in the blurb, as they do sometimes. Um, yes, Stormfly. No, you can't come up here. Not well. No, Stormfly's back. Do not disconnect the microphone this time, for goodness sakes. All right, you need to go. You cannot be up here right now. Down, down, down. Oh my God. Did you hear her? She is not happy about this. Go. Yeah, no, you can't be up here right now. She's very insistent. So more coins is definitely a reason to keep writing, that's for sure, Monique. Thanks, Linda. I mean, it's not out yet. It's just up for pre-order, but it'll be out no later than September 25th. But anyway, so I've never promoted this particular book because I don't usually promote book ones in a series. And that has to do with just usually like there's not enough read through to do it. And also this particular series, like I said, really only follows after everything else I've written. I've got this one reader and they're like, they start reading my books and they're like, oh, well, I can make it to Ascension War, which is what the series is called, at this certain time. And I'm like, yeah, but why are you racing toward it? Like, go read the whole story, understand the tapestry that is in place before you dive into this book that is meant to be read after you've experienced everything else I've written. That makes sense. I mean, if you want to give me money and buy these books, I'm not going to stop a person, but they're not going to get as much out of it. So this is not like a normal thing, writing a series like this. It's in a way, I'm kind of doing a bookend on almost everything I've written to date. And I'm actually still working on the beginning bookend as well. It's kind of funny. I've got 23 series in this universe, and the first one is not done, and the last one is not done. Everything else is mostly, with like some small exceptions, wrapped up. It was Linda, wasn't it? My cats, this particular cat has never walked on my desk. Well, never as in like in the last 5 years or so. She's been very much, she lives on Jill's desk. She does not come on my desk. But in the last week, she's decided that my desk is also her desk. And I don't have anywhere for her to lay. Like Jill has like a yarn nest for Stormfly to lay in. I got nothing. Anyway, so Elaine says, your point was social media is about demonstrating your skill as a storyteller, not selling books. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I was at a writers convention, like a small one in Fredericton, New Brunswick, which is where I'm living now. Well, I don't live in Fredericton, I live in St. John. But Fredericton's only like an hour and 20 minutes away. So I popped up there for one day of their convention, and Mark Leslie Lefray was there. And he and I actually spent most of the conference in the bar talking because we haven't seen each other in years. But during his presentation, he had a 2-hour presentation in the morning. And during that presentation, he said, social media is not about advertising per se. It's about demonstrating, sorry, not advertising. Social media is not about book sales. It's about demonstrating your skill as a storyteller. And so I posted that on Facebook. And later on, I told him that. And he's like, oh, that's actually a pretty good line, isn't it? Because he said it in response to a question that someone asked him from the audience. And I thought, like, wow, that is such a succinct way of saying it. Because I've said for the longest time, like one of the biggest things we're trying to do as storytellers is sell people on our ability to tell a story. That's why I say like your best people, back when I started doing Facebook ads, everybody was all like talking price and talking availability and stuff like that. Like, oh, you can get it for $4.99 on Amazon. I'm like, that's not interesting information. Make your ad about the story, about the characters. That's what people read for. We'll find out where it is and how much it costs when we click, but generate that interest first. So I've always been on this, but I never said it quite as well as Mark did. So of course the question is, how do you demonstrate that you're a good storyteller? Well, one of the easiest ways is to tell a story. it's prose, right? You're writing prose, you're writing about characters, you're writing about situations, you're writing about things that will evoke an emotional response in the reader. And that's why one of the things I do for most of the ads that I run is the primary text is just the first chapter, because a well-written first chapter should grab people in the first sentence. The first sentence should be like, all right, you've got my attention. Let's go. So your sentence one should grab people, and the end of chapter one should end in a hook. It should be all everything opened up, questions galore. What happens next? That's how chapter one should end. So when I run ads, the main text that I run, and the text that generally works the best, is chapter one. In fact, whenever I'm running an ad for somebody and chapter one doesn't work very well, I'm like, you might want to look at your first chapter, because it should be your best ad. It should be the thing that grabs people the most. Um, so that's usually what I do. And then it's usually like a still image, with some sort of like tagline-esque phrase. In TikTok parlance, they're called hooks. Um, and then the book cover should be in the corner so that it's clear that this is an ad for a book, so other people don't get picked up. And then it's the primary text that contains the story. Um, so you can do that. You could tell a short story through a series of posts. You could, show some sort of interesting turn of phrase. There's people out there who sell fiction. The way that they sell themselves as good storytellers is they just drop tea, or spill tea. They just spill tea, but they do it in story fashion. So you have to be careful. You have to like not milk an outrage machine. But what they do is they just tell stories about their lives. They make the stories interesting. So, they're like, so today I went to the grocery store, minding my own business, listening to a good podcast on my earphones, and I couldn't help but notice this guy. He was kind of a scraggly looking guy. Um, you know, Jeans hang a little bit too low. Um, flannel and his hat on backwards, but he had this really, you know, curious and genuine look to his expression or something like that. Like some sort of like, here's this juxtaposition that I saw. Here's what's interesting. Here's how, and you turn this person you saw into a character. And it doesn't have to actually be truth. It could be fiction. And they do stuff like that. And you'll see them on Threads. You'll see them on Instagram. You'll see them on Facebook. And whatever they're posting, they're telling stories. Um, for me, obviously, slice of life like that is not going to be the best kind of story. But I could tell a story about, um, someone discovering something, like someone in space, like I was, um, I could, I don't know, take a story about some astronaut or something that a space shuttle captain went through, and turn that into a story and talk about how that sort of thing inspires me a little bit or something like that. But not directly tell it by my writing, but make it an interesting story. And that's the kind of storytelling that you can do if you don't want to like pull stuff right out of your books. You can also just tell stories. I don't know about your soup videos, Elaine. I'm not familiar with them, but if you do them like a story, like like here's the trials and travails of this soup that I made and funny stuff that happened along the way, and my cat ate the apple as I was peeling it, or who knows what, right? Um, you could do that. My life isn't interesting enough, but I could make stuff up as long as it's kind of obvious that you are making stuff up. I mean, or I think people are okay with you elaborating, or not elaborating, but taking some creative license with events in your life. Um, but if you like are completely making stuff up, they might after a while be like, "This seems kind of odd. You can't really have all this stuff happen in your life." So I feel like one of the things I have seen is if people try to like make up a lot of stories, um, people are eventually like, "There's no way that all of this is real and this is happening to you." So if you're transparent and saying like, "Hey, I'm taking some creative license here, but walk with me through this funny event that happened," then you're probably people will kind of understand and come along with you for the tale. Or you could even say like, you know, overheard at the coffee shop or something like that. If you want to like not have it be about you, but have it be about someone else, that sort of thing could absolutely work. But like I said, or what you could do is you could make it like you could just tell the stories from your character's POV, you know, which is I think something that I'm going to explore a little bit more. I was actually talking with an author just before this call, good old Stan. Stan, oftentimes I have a call with him in half an hour before this on Thursdays. So a lot of times I have my conversations with Stan, and every other newsletter that sends out, he has a short story in it, about 4,000 words, and so he's got like 80 of them now that he's done, these short stories. Some of them are, I think some of them sit with his novel, some of them are standalone short stories, just ideas that he has. Um, Honestly, I'm really impressed because figuring out doing like character development and having an interesting plot and all that in 4,000 words is no small task, no small feat. But he's like, he said, like, I love it. He's like, I can have an idea, and a day and a half later, it's a published story in my newsletter. Um, I didn't mention this to him. I should have, but like that's amazing content for putting into social media. And that's the kind of thing we need to be doing with social media. We need to be storytellers first in whatever we're doing, in our content. And it doesn't have to be like long, it doesn't have to be a 4,000 word story, but it has to be, I think, something that demonstrates that that's what we do, that we love story, we love sharing things, we like making it interesting, and you can lean into your strengths. If you're like a setting person and you just rock setting and you want to like describe in purple prose this really beautiful setting, do that. Or if you like witty banter, do like a little witty banter exchange or something. But or like I said, the other option is like actually just use such segments of your own stories. Post your first chapter, post something that is really interesting, post your reader, talk about your reader feedback to something that you wrote. That sort of thing is, I think, really important when it comes to like sharing that we're good story. Fake outtakes from a story would work. For the instance, put a character into a situation that would never been written for the story, but are true to a character's life. Yeah, yeah, that sort of thing actually is really fun. I think of things like that all the time, and then I never do anything with them. Like I have these, like Tanis, one of my main characters. She's like a general, admiral, field marshal. She's basically worked her way through the upper echelon of the military ranks, but she lives on a lake house, with a barn and horses, with her husband and kids. And the interesting thing is that the starships that they are in are so large that she has two lake houses. One of them's on a planet, and one of them's inside the starship. She has a house on a lake with an orchard and a woodworking shop, and it's inside a starship. And I always in my mind have all these like visions of things that go on when she's there, like just picking apples in the orchard, and then like, I don't know, something falls off the spaceship from above and they have to deal with it, or even just like, I don't know, and after like having my characters all show up for a barbecue and just have them all hang out and talk. Um, some of my favorite scenes I ever have written that I want to write more of is my characters who rarely in the books get to be together when they're not in conflict, or write them when they're always in conflict in the books, not with each other, but there's something going on and they're focused on the task at hand. But what's it like when they're not? Because people aren't always like that. And I actually, a couple times in my books, I've managed to write like get-togethers where these characters that are normally in those kinds of situations just to get to hang out and talk. And the best thing is to have them start telling bullshit stories. Like sea stories is oftentimes what they're called, or just shooting the shit, obviously, is another way people say it. And, and then people like they start telling stories and someone's like, there's no way it went down like that. And someone's like, you're right, it didn't, and then they launch into their version or something. That sort of thing is really fun to do. And I have a plan to actually write some sort of like time. I'm not going to explain it too much, just like time breaks and characters that never ever would have met each other show up at the same place. For me, they're all in the same universe, so it's just a time thing. But you could always do this as a cross time thing and start writing, like character ABC's walking down the street and they bump into character, you know, um, I guess one of my characters is named ABC apparently now. Character A is walking down the street and they bump into character Q from an entirely different series, and they're just like, what the heck are you doing here? They see them in a coffee shop, or they I don't know, they're holding a burger that they just got at a stand, and a car honks and it startles them and they get it everywhere, and the other character helps them clean up and they start chatting, stuff like that. Like whatever comes to mind. Fun stuff like that is great, especially if you can do things with characters that would never meet, because it's like an ultimate Easter egg that you could never do in a story, but you could absolutely do it in like just a short post. They can be social media posts, they can be newsletter posts, and then that sort of thing also becomes content that you could then ultimately bundle together, put it into an anthology of different little short stories of your characters interacting. It becomes stuff that you can like mention in the back of book that people can get. Sign up for my newsletter and read about these two characters. Having to deal with something or other. Um, it becomes like this ongoing content farm. So, but in a good way, a good content farm. It's like you're growing and nurturing this content versus it being something awful. Content farm is such a loaded word. I should not have used that phrase. But yeah, I love this. I'm so glad that I asked you this and you remembered what the question was, Elaine, because I think that's something that we as authors don't do enough of. We're so focused on all these other sort of like generalized markety things that we're supposed to be doing that we forget that we are first and foremost storytellers, and that's where our strengths lie. In regular advertising, the the whole thing that you do is you identify a problem that the reader has, or you tell them they have a problem that they didn't know they had. Like restless leg syndrome. Remember the restless leg syndrome ads that used to be like on TV all the time, like 5 to 10 years ago? Like, yeah, some people's legs tap in their sleep. Well, they turned restless leg syndrome into a whole thing and had a drug to help you with it. And the whole thing was like it was a drug that was supposed to be something else, but it turned out that it also helped if you had restless leg syndrome, which no one other than my wife was terribly concerned about. Um, at that point, honestly, I'm not going to take drugs to stop my leg from vibrating. We just got so that we have separated mattresses so it doesn't shake her around, which is less money than taking a drug forever. Anywho, so they identify a problem, like, I don't know, like your clothes don't come out clean enough. Well, guess what? We got OxyClean. And OxyClean can clean anything ever, all the time, and combine it with the chamois from ShamWow, and you're going to have the cleanest, shiniest stuff ever. So the whole thing, though, is they identify a problem you already know you have, or they create a problem. And a lot of advertising is creating a problem, right? You're like, I'm fine with my skin, but then I see these commercials. Well, maybe I'm not supposed to have these dots up here. I clearly need to, although I'm actually using AI to help filter that. Oh, you can kind of see, you can see my pigmented skin and then it goes away. I actually don't even have the touch up my appearance thing turned up very much. There we go. Now we have unairbrushed Mallory. And look, I've got spots, goodness, we're not supposed to have spots. So we need product XYZ to make it so that we don't have spots anymore. And we look like Barbie dolls, which I mean, like that's an aesthetic that actually I kind of appreciate, but nonetheless, you guys get it. You guys know the drill. You guys know how advertising works, but writing's different, right? What is the problem that our readers have? They don't have a book to read. That's the problem. We don't need to sell them on, hey, if you don't have a book to read, you should get a book, right? Like they already know that. We don't have to go through that part of the process. We don't have to do the need identification and here's the thing to fulfill it. Well, but we kind of do, right? Because they know that they want entertainment, and the entertainment they want is book. We have to say, like, it's my book that's going to fulfill this need that you have for entertainment, for characters like this and that and the other thing. But we do it through story, right? Because the proof that we have the thing that will solve the problem is that we can tell a story that they'll be interested in. We can do that through like exposing our prose. We can do that by saying something like, I don't know, when you walk onto the Starship Bridge and everybody's staring in horror at the view screen or something like that, and then there's like an armada of ships in the picture and everybody has like this we're fucked look on their face or something, something that's going to create curiosity and emotional response. That's what we do in our advertising. So in regular social media posts, you have a little more leeway. You don't have to have it be quite as like as quick and snappy as an ad. Because when you're showing ads, right, like it's somebody who's not currently looking for your content, and then you're like, hey, wait, but just hold on. If you're down for this sort of thing, I've got this great thing that you might want. They're like, I don't know, I'm eating a sandwich on the subway and trying to keep the weird guy from sitting next to me. It's got to be pretty enticing for me to click now. Whereas if they're just scrolling through their feed and your content aligns with less what they look at and they just see a story, they might just start reading it. So, and you're not paying for anyone to read like your regular social content either. So you can experiment more with that and do more long form stuff. Whereas ads tend to be pretty quick and snappy, but then you can also have an excerpt of your story as the text as well. Most people say they don't have time to read, younger people particularly. I mean, people have always said they don't have time to read. I don't. It's. I mean, readers read. Non-readers don't read. Um, I think we're actually in the golden age of reading. I think more people read now than have ever read before in history, and more people read books now than have ever read books before in history. Um, the United States is not a shining beacon of that with the current literacy rates in the United States. Something like 25 to 30% of the adult population is functionally illiterate. But lots of other countries have pretty decent literary rates. But the way that I handle that with all my marketing is I just make it so that every market piece of marketing I do screams book. And the AIs in Facebook land are not great, but they're fairly decent at not showing books to people who don't read. And also, if you show like your image with stuff going on, and there's a book cover down in the corner, the people who don't read just ignore it. They scroll on by, and Facebook learns who to show it to, who not to show to. So again, like, if we're trying to get the attention of people who don't want to take the time to read, then that does seem like a futile endeavor. So we just need to sort of focus on people who do want to read, and people's behavior does that filtering. Oh, you're totally welcome, Elaine. I see more people than ever making a living off of their books. I see authors that you've never heard of who are making like $50,000 a month, or more in some cases, off their books. And you've never heard of them. They're just selling books, and there's just acres and acres of people who want to read them. Sometimes it's the packaging that doesn't sell an existing book. Sometimes it's the genre. Not every book sells really well, but there are so many people out there reading that I really do feel like um, we're nowhere near the limit for like the number of authors who can make a living off of their books. Um, and I actually do feel like I know, like, if you go to any hey Len, if you go to any bookstore these days, and at least in my experience in the areas I live in, the biggest segment of the bookstore, other than general fiction, but even sometimes not even, is manga. Manga is huge, and that includes light novels. And so light novels are usually around like 40,000 words. It's a Japanese subgenre of novels. Basically, a light novel is really like a graphical manga that was converted into a book, not always in that order. Um, and it's kind of cool too because they do them backwards. The cover is actually on the back, and the back is on the front, even though you still read them left to right, because of course in Japan they were right to left. So there's lots of them, and it's the biggest section, and it's all kids under 25 that are reading these things. If my daughter's going to pick up a fiction book, it's going to be a light novel, like guaranteed. Although the last time she and Jill went to the bookstore, like on Tuesday or no Wednesday, and Eva came back with 8 nonfiction books. I kid you not. Like, I was blown away. It's so cool. Um, she's got the bug to start writing again, and she's doing research right now in world building for the writing that she wants to do. She bought 8 nonfiction books to help her with her research and world building. I love the fact that she bought books and just didn't look stuff up online. It's super cool. She's got plans on highlighting sections and stuff like that. Because I do feel like there's a certain books allow you to sort of like quickly flip through data and information in a way that you can't do online quite as easily. So it's pretty cool that she's doing that. But yeah, storytellers. You know what I need to do? I need to put it like in my calendar to write a short story like every week or every other week or something like that. I think my readers would love it. I think it'd be good for me as an author to do like a 3 to 5,000 word story, or maybe sometimes it's gonna be a 10 and it just takes a bit longer, so I can like prove to everybody that I'm a storyteller. God damn it! You bet, Sealer, Elaine, and I think I'm just about wrapped up as well. Like this is all I got to say on the topic, but I'm stoked that I have a book coming out this summer, possibly maybe a little bit into the fall. I plan to maybe try and get 2 more out this year. That feels kind of ambitious, but, who knows? Also, Jill and I are, like, house shopping in Canada now, so that might consume some of our time, but, still pretty cool. Platforms are available for short stories. I mean, there's acres of platforms. I'm thinking more of just putting it folding it to regular social media. Um, there's all sorts of, like, you know, um, apps that people can get for reading different kinds of stories. But for me, it's like I want to use these stories to where I engage right now. That's the thing. Like most of us can only really be active on two, maybe three at most platforms. So if you got this, you've got places you are right now where you've got readers who follow you, who are interested in you. Build up your readership there. You know, get people, give people who have found you where you are more of a reward for finding you. Put them in your newsletter. Make anthologies every so often with them. I'm more interested in using short stories as a way to organically draw people in where I already am, and also to keep people interested in what I have going on where I already am, rather than trying to branch out and manage um, stories in like in a slew of other places. That's that sounds exhausting. I'd much rather just write the stories. Maybe, but maybe eventually I could do something like that. I feel like to start, that's not something that I personally want to do. I want to use them for branching out where I am. I think that's the best place to start. Um, so anyway, I'm going to jet though. It has been a slice chatting with you all, and I will see you wonderful people next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a fabulous weekend. Talk to you later.